free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
I think a new world order is emerging.
An inside job? How dare you? How dare you?
To create, so to say, mass-produced models of human beings arranged in some kind of a scientific caste system.
We shall go on to the end. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall never surrender.
Good day, everybody. This is UCY.tv, the 9th of August, 2014. With the Solvinur Event, I am your host Walter Hendricks, coming to you from the Netherlands. It's 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're listening to this, go to UCY.tv, mouse over shows. Click on any of them and you will end up in the chat. That's where you can ask questions. I try to keep an eye on that while I do the radio. What's up, everybody? How are you doing? How are you managing to stay sane in this insane world? Alright, so today we're gonna do more of the Mahabharata, and the thing has crashed, so I need to restart this. Hold on, you guys. Let's see. Yeah, that's okay. That's for the break. And somehow these flash things keep crashing on me. You know, it's like they can't even make that work. Update after update after update, they still can't get it right, you know. A bunch of fracking noobs. So, let's pick this up where we left off. Or should I give you a warning first? Probably that's in place to give you a warning first before we do this. This reading from the Mahabharata can be very dangerous. It can mess with your mind. So be careful. Do not take anything that I read to be the absolute truth. And just listen to it and see what you get from it. But be careful, because it's really dangerous stuff. This is the kind of text that has been used to control millions of people. So, with that warning, let's dig into this, where we left off last week. And he stood before his preceptor and saluted him respectfully. And his preceptor, observing that he was still fat, said unto him, Upamanyu, my child, I take from thee all thou obtainest in alms, and thou dost not go a-begging a second time, and yet art thou in healthy condition. How dost thou support thyself? And Upamanyu, thus questioned, answered, Sir, I now live upon the milk of these cows. And the preceptor thereupon told him, It is not lawful for thee to appropriate the milk without having first obtained my consent. Yeah. Unbelievable, right? You need to even get permission to drink milk. Upamanyu, having assented to the justice of these observations, went away to tend the kine. Yeah. What do you mean, justice of these observations? And when he returned to his preceptor's abode, he stood before him and saluted him as usual. And his preceptor, seeing that he was still fat, said, Upamanyu, my child, thou eatest no longer of alms, nor dost thou go a-begging a second time, not even drink of the milk, yet art thou fat. By what means dost thou contrive to live now? And Upamanyu replied, Sir, I now sip the froth of these calves that these calves throw out, while sucking their mother's teats. And the preceptor says, These generous calves, I suppose, out of compassion for thee, throw out large quantities of froth. Wouldst thou stand in the way of their full meals by acting as thou hast done? Know that it is unlawful for thee to drink the froth. And Upamanyu, having signified his assent to this, went as before to tend the cows, and restrained by his preceptor, he feedeth not on alms, nor hath anything to eat, drink not milk, nor taste the froth. And Upamanyu one day, oppressed by hunger, when in the forest, ate of the leaves of the arca, that's Asclepias gigantea, and his eyes being affected by the pungent acrimonious, something like that, crude and saline properties of the leaves, while he had eaten, he became blind. And as he was crawling about, he fell into a pit. And upon his not returning that day, when the sun was sinking down behind the summit of the western mountains, the preceptor observed to his disciples that Upamanyu was not yet come, and they told him that he had gone out with the cattle. The preceptor said, Upamanyu, being restrained by me from the use of everything, is, of course, and therefore doth not come home until it be late. Where's the logic in that? Let us go in search of him. And having said this, he went with his disciples into the forest and began to shout, Hey, Upamanyu, where are you? And Upamanyu, hearing his preceptor's voice, answered, Here I am at the bottom of a well. And the preceptor asked him how he had happened to be there. And Upamanyu replied, Having eaten of the leaves of the arca plant, I became blind, and so I have fallen into this well. And his preceptor thereupon told him, Glorify the twin Aswins, the joint physicians of the gods, and they will restore thee thy sight. Upamanyu, thus directed by his preceptor, began to glorify the twin Aswins in the following words of the Rig Veda. Right, that's one part of the Vedas. Rig Veda, R-I-G Veda. Ye have existed before creation, ye firstborn beings. Ye are displayed. Right, so when it says you have existed before the creation, they're talking about material creation. Ye are displayed in these wondrous universe of 5 elements. Right? Earth, water, air, fire, and ether. I desire to obtain you by the help of the knowledge derived from hearing and of meditation, for ye are infinite. Ye are the course itself of nature and intelligent soul that pervades that course. Ye are birds of beauteous feather, perched on the body that is like to a tree. Ye are without the three common attributes of every soul. Without? Three common attributes of every soul. I told you guys about that last week, right? Ye are incomparable. Ye, through the Spirit in every created thing, pervade the universe. So why would they be without the three common attributes? It doesn't make sense. Ye are golden eagles. Ye are the essence into which all things disappear. Ye are free from error and know no deterioration. Ye are of beauteous beaks that would not unjustly strike, and are victorious in every encounter. Ye certainly prevail over time. In other words, time does not affect. Having created the sun, ye have wondrous cloth of the year by means of the white thread of the day and the black thread of the night. And with the cloth so woven, ye have established two courses of action, apparently respectively to the Devas and the Pitris. The bird of life seized by time, which represents the strength of the infinite soul, ye set free for delivering her unto great happiness. They that are in deep ignorance, as long as they are under delusion of their senses, suppose you, who are independent of the attribute of matter, to be gifted with form. Yeah? In other words, they're saying that there is no form for them. 360 cows? 360 cows? Does that sound like a circle or what? Represented by 360 days, produce one calf between them, which is the year. That's 360 days in a year. You also find that back in Egyptian mythology, where all of a sudden the calendars changed from 360 to 365. This could be due to a thing that happened within our solar system. Not saying this is it, because what Gurdjieff said about the creation of Venus apparently happened 750 BC, and that would be too short ago, but something like that. That calf is the creator and destroyer of all. Seekers of truth, following different routes, draw the milk of true knowledge with its help. Ye Aswins, ye are the creator of that calf. The year is but the nave of a wheel to which is attached 720 spokes. 720? That's 360 twice, representing as many days and nights. The circumference of this wheel, represented by 12 months, is without end. The wheel is full of delusions and knows no deterioration. It doesn't? Well, that's odd. Why speak of destruction of the universe when there's no deterioration? It affects all creatures whether to this or of the other worlds, ye Asvins, this wheel of time is set in motion by you. And by the way, last week I said I read about the three worlds, remember that? And somebody, I don't remember who, claimed that the three worlds are past, present and future. Alright, I don't know what to make of that. But there you go. The wheel of time is represented by the years, has a nave represented by the 6 seasons. 6 seasons? I thought there were 4. The number of spokes attached to that nave is 12, as represented by the 12 signs of the zodiac. This wheel of time manifests the fruits of the acts of all things. Alright, so what is said here, as far as I can see anyway, is that for actions to have any result, time must be present in this material world. The presiding deities of time abide in that wheel. Subject as I am to its distressful influence, ye Asvins, liberate me from that wheel of time. Ye Asvins, ye are the universe of 5 elements. Ye are the object that are enjoyed in this and in the other world. The other world being the non-material world. Make me independent of the 5 elements, and there's an R missing here, I think, and through ye are the supreme Brahma. Yet ye move over the earth in forms enjoying the delights that the senses afford. Alright. Taking a little break here. Huh? It's, this is what's supposed to be radio. That is not mainstream. Alright? And why did this whole idea of non-mainstream media come about? At least here in the Netherlands. I know that talk radio has been manifested in the USA much earlier. I mean, even now the whole concept of talk radio in the Netherlands is virtually non-existent. But it has come about because there seem to be more and more people, quote unquote, waking up. And usually when making this kind of radio, the different hosts, talk about what the mainstream media does not talk about. And then the claim is what, quote unquote, they do not want you to know, right? So it's supposed to be informative. It's supposed to be telling you what's really going on, as opposed to what Fox or CNN or ABC or MSNBC is telling you. Alright? So there is already a lot of that out there. And I kind of assume that you're already well informed. So, but if you think that, well, this reading from the Mahabharata is just useless, you shouldn't waste airtime on this, that's okay. If you really don't want to hear this, just say so, and we won't. You know, there's lots of other things that we could talk about besides ancient Indian myth, alright? Why do I do this, though? Is because this is part of how masses of people are controlled. And if you want to know the weapons that are being used against you, you should get acquainted with. I can't say familiarize. The weapons that are being used against you. Right? These, what I'm reading to you, are the weapons that are being used against you. They are in between the lines. Right? So, just if you don't want to hear this anymore, that's okay. Just send me an email, and if I get enough complaints about it, I will just trash this, and we will get into other things. All right. My email, Solvinur2 @yahoo.com. SOLVINUR, the number 2, @yahoo.com. So, you know, this is your radio, right? I don't claim this time on air for myself, you know, so that I can put my ideas out there. This is your radio. You decide what's going on. You can even call in at this point. If you have Skype, contact me, Solvinur, SOLVINUR, and we will get you on the air, you know. Alright. In the beginning, ye created the 10 points of the universe. Alright, so they're saying there are 10 points in the universe? What's he talking about? Then ye have placed the sun in the sky above. In the sky above? What is he saying? That the sun is above you? Does that make sense? Doesn't to me. Anyway, the only thing you could get from this is that first there is a universe or an empty space, and then stars at some point are being created, apparently, right? Because it says then ye have placed, not in this universe already existed. You know, more like the creationist idea. No, that's not being promoted here. The rishis, according to the course of the same sun, perform their sacrifices, and the gods and men, according to what has been appointed for them, perform their sacrifices, also enjoying the fruits of those acts. That's you will find a lot of that in Vedic literature, that if you want to get anywhere, you should make sacrifices. And not only just sacrifices, but sacrifices to the gods that can deliver whatever you want. You know, there's a god for women who want a good husband, right? There is a god for men who want to be rich, and so on and so on. Mixing the 3 colors, ye have produced all the objects of sight. That's interesting. Mixing the 3 colors, yellow, blue, and red. Right, those are the primary colors. What I find strange about that, and I actually tested this out myself, when I was doing the light show for some bands, that if you mix these colors you get white. But if you mix these colors with like paint, you don't get white. So there's a difference somewhere between mixing light and mixing paint. It is from these objects that the universe has sprung, whereon the gods and men are engaged in their respective occupations, and indeed all creatures endued with life. What is this? Mixing the three colors, ye have produced all the objects of sight. And then it says, it is from these objects that the universe has sprung. Sounds like Big Bang or what? What's going on here? Ye Ashwins, I adore you. I also adore the sky, which is your handiwork. Ye are the ordiners of the fruits of all acts, from which even the gods are not free. Yeah, they're talking the gods that I just mentioned, right? These are, according to their mythology, just living beings like you and me. Except that they live very much longer, because they have a duty in this universe. See? Ye are yourselves free from the fruits of your acts. That's karma yoga. He's talking about the Ashvins. Ye are the parents of all. As males and females, it is ye that swallow the food which subsequently develops into the life-creating fluid and blood. Into the life-creating fluid and blood? Well, that's not what they say in other places in the Vedas. You know, on the contrary, they will claim that the chemicals are not responsible for creation of life. The newborn infant sucks the teat of its mother. Indeed, it is ye that taketh the shape of the infant. Ye Ashwi, grant me the sight to protect my life. The twin Ashvins, thus invoked, appeared and said, We are satisfied. Here is a cake for thee, take it and eat. And Upanumanyu, thus addressed, replied, Your words, O Ashvins, have never proved untrue, but without first offering this cake to my preceptor, I dare not take it. And the Ashvins thereupon told him, Formerly the preceptor had invoked us. We thereupon gave him a cake like this, and he took it without offering it to his master. Do you do that which thy preceptor did? Thus addressed, Upamanyu again said unto them, O Ashvins, I crave your pardon. Without offering it to my preceptor, I dare not apply this cake. The Ashvins then said, O, we are pleased with this devotion of thine to thy preceptor. Thy master's teeth are of black iron. What the heck is that? Thine shall be of gold. Thou shall be restored to sight and shall have good fortune. What's this? It reminds me of the snake, Adam and Eve. Thus spoken by the Ashvins, he recovered his sight, and he recovered his sight. In other words, he is now able to see. And that's also what's going on with the snake and the apple, right? It's the gift of intellect. And having gone to his preceptor's presence, he saluted him and told him all, and his preceptor was well pleased with him, and said unto him, Thou shalt obtain prosperity even as the Ashwins have said. All the Vedas shall shine in thee, and all the Dharma Shastras. And this was the trial of Upamanyu. Strange. The Veda, the other disciple of Ayodhya was called. His preceptor once addressed him, saying, Veda, my child, tarry some time in my house and serve thy preceptor. It shall be to thy profit. And Veda, having signified his assent, tarried long in the family of his preceptor, mindful of serving him. Like an ox under the burdens of his master, he bore heat and cold, hunger and thirst, at all times without a murmur. It was not long before his preceptor was satisfied, and as a consequence of that satisfaction, Veda obtained good fortune and universal knowledge. This was the trial of Veda. And Veda, having received permissions, not permissions, leave the S, from his preceptor, and leaving the latter's residence after the completion of his studies, entered the domestic mode of life. And while living in his own house, he got 3 pupils, and he never told them to perform any work or to obey implicitly his own behests. For having himself experienced much woe while abiding in the family of his preceptor, he liked not to treat them with severity. After a certain time, Janamejaya and Paushya, both of the order of the Kshatriyas, arriving at his residence, appointed the Brahman. What's that? Veda as the spiritual guide. Why is there a dot there? It's supposed to be the end of a sentence, right? I can't read this right. And just forget it. And one day, while about to depart upon some business related to a sacrifice, he employed one of his disciples, Utanka, to take charge of his household. Utanka, he said, whatsoever should have to be done in my house, let it be done by thee without neglect. And having given these orders to Utanka, he went on his journey. So Utanka, always mindful of the injunctions of his preceptor, took up his abode in the latter's house. And while Utanka was residing there, the females of his preceptor's house, having assembled, addressed him and said, O Utanka, the mistress is in that season when connubial connection might be fruitful. The preceptor is absent. Then stand thou in his place and do the needful. And Utanka, thus addressed, said unto these women, It is not proper for me to do this at the bidding of women. I have not been enjoined by my preceptor to do aught that is improper. After a while, his preceptor returned from his journey, and his preceptor, having learned all that had happened, became well pleased, and addressing Utanka said, Utanka, my child, what favor shall I bestow upon thee? I have been served by thee duly, therefore has our friendship for each other increased. I therefore grant thy leave to depart. Go thou, and let thy wishes be accomplished. Utanka, thus addressed, hold on you guys. Utanka, thus addressed, replied saying, That's double, right? Let me do something that you wish, for it has been said, he who bestoweth instruction contrary to usage, and he who receiveth it contrary to usage, one of the two dieth, and enmity springeth up between the two. I therefore, who have received thy leave to depart, am desirous of bringing thee some honorarium due to a preceptor. His master, upon hearing this, replied, Utanka, my child, wait a while. Some time after, Utanka again addressed his preceptor, saying, Command me to bring that for honorarium which you desire. And the preceptor said, My dear Utanka, thou hast often told me of your desire to bring something by way of acknowledgment for the instruction thou hast received. Go, then, in and ask thy mistress what thou art to bring. And bring thou that which she directs. And thus directed by his preceptor, Utanka addressed his preceptress, saying, Madam, I have obtained my master's leave to go home. I am desirous of bringing something agreeable to thee as honorarium for the instruction I have received, in order that I may not depart as his debtor. Therefore, please command me what I am to bring. Thus addressed, his preceptress replied, Go unto King Pausia and beg of him the pair of earrings worn by his queen, and bring them hither. The 4th day hence is a sacred day, when I wish to appear before the Brahmanas, who may dine at my house, decked with these earrings. Then accomplish this, O Utanka. If thou should succeed, good fortune shall attend thee. If not, what good canst thou expect? Utanka, thus commanded, took his departure. And as he was passing along the road, he saw a bull of extraordinary size, and a man of uncommon stature mounted thereon. It's a bull. It's, usually when I read things like that, like bull or lion, even goat, it reminds me of an era. And that man addressed Utanka and said, Eat thou of the dung of this bull. Utanka, however, was unwilling to comply. The man said again, O Utanka, eat of it without scrutiny. Thy master ate it before. And Utanka signified his assent, and ate of the dung, and drank of the urine of the bull, and rose respectfully, and washing his mouth and hands, and went to where King Pausia was. Strange stories, right? On arriving at the palace, Utanka saw Pausia seated on his throne, and approaching him, Utanka saluted the monarch by pronouncing blessings and said, I am come as a petitioner to thee. And King Pausia, having returned Utanka's salutation, said, Sir, what shall I do for thee? And Utanka said, I came to beg of thee a pair of earrings as a present to my preceptor. It behoveth thee to give me the earrings worn by the queen. King Pausia replied, Go, Utanka, into the female apartments where the queen is, and demand them of her. And Utanka went into the women's apartments. But as he could not discover the queen, he again addressed the king, saying, It is not proper that I should be treated with thee with deceit. The queen is not in the private apartments, for I could not find her. The king thus addressed considered for a while, and replied, Recollect, sir, with attention whether thou art not in a state of defilement in consequence of contact with the impurities of a repast. My queen is a chaste wife and cannot be seen by anyone who is impure owing to contact with the leavings of a repast. Nor does she herself appear in sight of anyone who is defiled. Utanka, thus informed, reflected for a while and said, "Yes, it must be so. Having been in a hurry, I performed my ablutions and in a standing posture." King Pausha then said, "Here is a transgression. Purification is not properly effected by one standing in posture, nor not by one while he is going along." A strange sentence again. And Utunka, having agreed to this, sat down with his face towards the east and washed his face, hands and feet thoroughly. And then he, without a noise, sipped thrice of water free from scum and froth, and not warm and just sufficient to reach his stomach, and wiped his face twice. And he then touched with water the apertures of his organs, eyes, ears, etc. And having done all this, he once more entered the apartments of the women. And this time he saw the queen, and as the queen perceived him, she saluted him respectfully and said, "Welcome, sir, command me what I have to do." And Utanka said unto her, "It behoveth thee to give me those earrings of thine. I beg them as a present for my preceptor." And the queen, having been highly pleased with Utanka's conduct, and considering that Utanka as an object of charity could not be passed over, took off her earrings and gave them to him. Yeah. Hold on, guys, I lost where I was. Blah, blah. And she said, "These earrings are very much sought after by Takshaka, the king of the serpents. Therefore shouldst thou carry them with the greatest care." And Utanka, being told this, said unto the queen, "Lady, be under no apprehension. Takshaka, chief of the serpents, is not able to overtake me." And having said this, and taking leave of the queen, he went back into the presence of Pausha, and said, "Pausha, I am gratified." Then Pausha said to Utanka, "A fit object of charity can only be had at long intervals. Thou art a qualified guest, therefore do I desire to perform a shraddha," whatever that is. "Tarry thou a little," and Utanka replied, "Yes, I will tarry, and beg that the clean provisions that are ready may be soon brought in." And the king, having signified his assent, entertained Utanka duly. And Utanka, seeing that the food placed before him had hair in it, and also that it was cold, thought it unclean. And he said unto Pausha, "Thou givest me food that is unclean, therefore shalt thou lose thy sight." And Pausha in answer said, "And because dost thou impute uncleanliness to food that is clean, therefore shalt thou be without issue." And Utanka thereupon rejoined, "It behoveth thee not, after having offered me unclean food, to curse me in return. Satisfy thyself by ocular proof." And Pausha, seeing the food alleged to be unclean, satisfied himself of its uncleanliness. And Pausha, having ascertained that the food was truly unclean, being cold and mixed with hair, prepared as it was by a woman with unbraided hair, began to pacify the Rishi Utanka, saying, "Sir, the food placed before thee is cold, and does contain hair. having been prepared without sufficient care. Therefore I pray thee, pardon me. Let me not become blind. And Tutunka answered, what I say must come to pass. Having become blind, thou mayest, however, recover the sight before long. Grant that thy curse also does not take effect on me. And Pausias said unto him, I am unable to revoke my curse, for my wrath even now has not been appeased. But thou knowest not this, for a Brahmana's heart is soft as new churned butter, even though his words bear a sharp-edged razor. It is otherwise in respect of these with the Kshatriya. His words are soft as new churned butter, but his heart is like a sharp-edged tool. Such being the case, I am unable, because of the hardness of my heart, to neutralize my curse. Then go thou thy own way. To this Utanka made answer, I showed thee the uncleanliness of the food and offered to me, and I was even now pacified by thee. Besides, saidst thou at first that because I imputed uncleanliness to food that was clean, I should be without issue. But the food truly unclean, thy curse cannot affect me, of this I am sure. And Utanka, having said this, departed with the earrings. Strange stories. On the road, Utanka perceived coming towards him a naked idle beggar, sometimes coming in view and sometimes disappearing. And Utanka put the earrings on the ground and went for water. Why would you do that? In the meantime, the beggar came quickly to the spot and taking up the earrings ran away. And Utanka, having completed his ablutions in water and purified himself, and having also reverently bowed down to the gods and the spiritual master, pursued the thief with the utmost speed. Right? Why would you let the beggar steal them in the first place? Right? Doesn't make sense. I don't know what is supposed to be the story here, but it's not. You can't take this literally. And having with great difficulty overtaking him, he seized him by force. But at that instant the person ceased, quitting the form of a beggar and assuming his real form, that of Takshaka, speedily entered a large hole open in the ground, and having gotten in, Takshaka proceeded to his own abode, the region of the serpents. Now Utanka, recollecting the words of the queen, pursued the serpent and began to dig open the hole with a stick, but was unable to make much progress. And Indra, beholding his distress, sent his thunderbolt to his assistance. Then the thunderbolt, entering that stick, enlarged the hole. And Utanka began to enter the hole, and the thunderbolt, after having entered it, he beheld the region of the serpents infinite in extent, filled with hundreds of palaces and elegant mansions, with turrets and domes and gateways, abounding with wonderful places for various games and entertainments. And Utanka then glorified serpents by the following slokas. Ye serpents, subjects of King Airavata, splendid in battle and showering weapons in the field like lightning-charged clouds driven by winds, handsome and in various forms and decked with many-colored earrings, ye children of Airavata, ye shine like the sun in the firmament. On the northern banks of the Ganges are many inhabitants of serpents. There I constantly adore the great serpents, who expect Airavata would desire to move in the burning rays of the sun. Not expect, but accept. When Dhritarashtra goes out, 28,008 serpents follow him as his attendants. Ye who move near him, and ye who stay at a distance from him, I adore all of you that have Airavata for your elder brother. Right? Dhritarashtra is Airavata's brother. I adore thee to obtain the earrings, O Takshaka, who formerly dwelt in Kurukshetra and the forest of Kandava. Takshaka and Ashvasena, ye are constant companions who dwell in Kurukshetra on the banks of the Ikshumati. I also adore the illustrious Srutasena, the younger brother of Takshaka, who resided at the holy place called Mahajumna, with a view to obtaining the chiefship of serpents. The Brahmana Rishi Utanka, having saluted the chief serpents in this manner, obtained not, however, the earrings, and he thereupon became very thoughtful. When he saw that he obtained not the earrings, even though he had adored the serpents, he then looked about him and beheld two women at a loom weaving a piece of cloth with a fine shuttle, and in the loom were black and white threads. And he likewise saw a wheel with 12 spokes, turned by 6 boys. That's like day and night, right? Black and white threads. A wheel, 12 spokes, those are signs in the sky. And the 6 boys are the 6 seasons that was spoken of earlier. And he also saw a man with a handsome horse, and he began to address them the following mantras. This wheel, whose circumference is marked by 24 divisions, representing as many lunar changes, is furnished with 300 spokes. It is set in continual motion by the seasons, the 6 boys. These damsels, representing universal nature as weaving without intermission a cloth with threads black and white, are thereby ushering into existence the manifold worlds and the beings that inhabit them. Thou wielder of the thunder, the protector of the universe, the slayer of Vritra and Namuchi, thou illustrious one, who wearest the black cloth and displays truth and untruth in the universe, thou who ownest for thy carrier the horse which was received from the depths of the ocean, and which is but another form of Agni, it's a god of fire. I bow to thee, thou supreme Lord, Lord of the 3 worlds, O Purandara. Then the man with the horse said to Utanka, I am gratified by this thy adoration. What good shall I do to thee? And Utanka replied, even let the serpents be brought under my control. Then the man rejoined, blow into this horse, and Utanka blew into the horse. And from the horses thus blown into, there issued from every aperture of his body flames of fire with smoke, by which the region of the Nagas was about to be consumed. And Naga is a serpent. And Takshaka, surprised beyond measure, and terrified by the heat of the fire, hastily came out of his abode, taking the earrings with him, and said unto Utunka, Pray, sir, take back these earrings. And Utanka took them back. But Utanka, having recovered his earrings, thought, Oh, this is that sacred day of my preceptress. I am at a distance. How can I therefore show my regard for her? And when Utanka was anxious about this, the man addressed him and said, Ride the horse, Utanka, and he will in a moment carry thee to thy master's abode. And Utanka, having signified his assent, mounted the horse and presently reached his preceptor's house. Sounds like teleportation, right? And his preceptress that morning, after having bathed, was dressing her hair, sitting, thinking of uttering a curse on Utanka if he should not return within time. But in the meantime, Utanka entered his preceptor's abode and paid his respects to his preceptress and presented her the earrings. Utanka, said she, thou hast arrived at the proper time, at the proper place. Welcome, my child, thou art innocent, and therefore I do not curse thee. That's interesting. You're not going to get cursed. Good fortune is even before thee. Let thy wishes be crowned with success. Then Utanka waited on his preceptor, and his preceptor said, Thou art welcome. What has occasioned thy long absence? And Utanka replied to his preceptor, Sir, in the execution of this my business obstruction was offered by Takshaka, the king of serpents. Therefore I had to go to the region of the Nagas. There I saw two damsels sitting at a loom, weaving a fabric with black and white threads. Pray, what is that? There likewise I beheld a wheel with 12 spokes, ceaselessly turned by 6 boys. What to that's with double O, doth that import? What is, not what is, who is also the man that I saw? And what the horse of extraordinary size, likewise beheld by me? And when I was on the road, I also saw a bull with a man mounted thereon, by whom I was endearingly accosted thus. Utanka, eat of the dung of this bull, which was also eaten by thy master. So I ate of the dung and of that bull according to his words. Who also is he? Therefore, enlightened by thee, I desire to hear all about them. And the preceptor thus addressed said unto him, The two damsels thou hast seen are Datta and Vidatta. The black and white threads denote night and day. The wheel of 12 spokes turned by the 6 boys signified the year comprising 6 seasons. The man is Paryanya, the deity of rain, and the horse is Agni, the god of fire. The bull that thou hast seen on the road is Airavata, the king of elephants. The man mounted thereon is Indra, and the dung of the bull which was eaten by thee was Amrita. It was certainly for this that thou hast not met with death in the region of the Nagas. And Indra, who is my friend, having been mercifully inclined, showed thee favor. It is for this that thou returnest safe, with the earrings about thee. Then, although a malleable one, I gave thy leave to depart. Thou shalt obtain good fortune. And Utanka, having obtained his master's leave, moved by anger and resolved to avenge himself on Takshaka, proceeded towards Hastinapura. That excellent Brahmana soon reached Hastinapura, and Utanka then waited upon King Janamajaya, who had some time before returned victorious from Takshashila. And Utanka saw the victorious monarch surrounded on all sides by his ministers, and he pronounced benedictions on him in a proper form. And Utanka addressed the monarch at the proper moment in speech of correct accent and melodious sound, saying, O thou the best of monarchs, how is it that thou spendest time like a child when there is another matter that urgently demands your attention? Sauti said, the monarch Janamajaya, thus addressed, saluting that excellent Brahmana, replied unto him, in cherishing these, my subjects, I so discharge the duties of my noble tribe. Say, what is that business to be done by me, and which has brought thee hither? The foremost of Brahmanas, and distinguished beyond all for good deeds, thus addressed by the excellent monarch of large heart, replied, O king, the business is thy own that demandeth thy attention, therefore do it. King of kings, thy father was deprived of life by Takshaka, and therefore do thou avenge thy father's death on that vile serpent. The time has come, I think, for the act of vengeance ordained by the fates. Go then avenge the death of thy magnanimous father, who, being bitten without cause by the vile serpent, was reduced to 5 elements, even like a tree stricken by thunder. The wicked Takshaka, vilest of the serpent race, intoxicated with power, committed an unnecessary act when he bit the king, that godlike father, the protector of the race of royal saints. Wicked in his deeds, he even caused Kasyapa, the prince of physicians, to run back when he was coming for the relief of thy father. It behoveth thee to burn the wicked wretch in the blazing fire of snake sacrifice. Give instant orders for the sacrifice. It is thus thou canst avenge the death of thy father, after a very great favor shall have also been shown to me, for by that malignant wretch, O virtuous prince, my business also was on one occasion obstructed, while proceeding on accounts of my preceptors. Alright guys, it's we're almost at the end of this section, but it's already 5:03, so it's time for a little intermission, a little break with some music. So let's see what we can do here, right? Poker face!
What do we know?
Little thief in the night.
Ah, we do that here. No problem.
They are laughing, they are screaming. It's such a good time in the name left screaming to some other god. Healing soul and calls for without a life. He is bringing down global peace and keeping it safe. But it can't continue to party and wait. Like a thief in the night. He's coming, yeah, he's coming. And his eyes burn through your
Alright guys, welcome back, the second hour, and let's see who's in the chat. Welcome Dan, another Dan, JJ, Joe, Lady Pitbull, Gringo, and Tuanons. Welcome everybody. Alright, let's pick this up. Last couple of sentences of section 3. So to continue, the monarch, having heard these words, was enraged with Takshaka. By the speech of Utanka was inflamed the prince, even as the sacrificial fire with clarified butter. Moved by grief also in the presence of Utanka, the prince asked his ministers the particulars of his father's journey to the regions of the blessed. Strange, right? You would think that he was going to ask about his father's journeys to the regions of these serpents that supposedly killed him, right? So why is the blessed here? And when he heard all about the circumstances of his father's death from the lips of Utunka, he was overcome with pain and sorrow. And so ends the section called Pausia. Next section. 5. Pauloma Parva. Section 4, I guess. Let's see, where were we? Next section, section 4. Oh, this is a very short section. Hey Joe, what's up, buddy? No, I did not say that, Lady Pitbull. They sacrificed the butter in the fire. Ugrasvara Sauti, the son, this is section 4. The son of Lomaharshana, versed in the Puranas, while present in the forest of Naimisha at the 12-year sacrifice of Saunaka, surnamed Kulapati, stood before the rishis in attendance. Having studied Puranas with meticulous devotion, and thus being thoroughly acquainted with them, he addressed them with joined hands. Thus, I have graphically described to you the history of Utanka, which is one of the causes of King Janamaya's snake sacrifice. What the heck is that? What, revered sirs, do you wish to hear now? What shall I relate to you? The holy man replied, O son of Lomaharshana, we ask thee about what we are anxious to hear, and thou wilt recount the tales one by one. Saunauka, our revered master, is at present attending the apartment of the holy fire. He is acquainted with those divine stories which relate to the gods and asuras. He adequately knows the histories of men, serpents and Gandharvas. Further, O Sunti, or Sauti, is this sacrifice that learned Brahmana is the chief. He is able, faithful to his vows, wise, a master of the Shastras, and the Aranyaka, a speaker of truth, a lover of peace, a mortifier of the flesh, and an observer of the penances according to the authoritative decrees. He is respected by us all. It behoveth us, therefore, to wait for him. And when he is seated on his highly respected seat, thou wilt answer what that best of Dvayas shall ask of thee. Sauti said, Be it so. And when the high-souled master has been seated, I shall narrate, questioned by him, sacred stories on a variety of subjects. After a while, that excellent Brahmana, what's up, JJ? After a while, that excellent Brahmana, Saunaka, having duly finished all of his duties, and having propitiated the gods with prayers, and the mains with oblations of water, came back to the place of sacrifice, where with Sauti seated before was the assembly of saints of rigid vows sitting at ease. And when Saunaka was seated in the midst of the Ritviks and Satyas, who were also in their seats, he spoke as follows. That was section 4. Now section 5. Pauloma Parva continued. Saunaka said, Child, thy father formerly read the whole of the Puranas, O son of Loma Harshana, and the Bharata with Krishna Dvaipayana. Hast thou also made them thy study? In those ancient records are chronicled interesting stories and the history of the first generations of wise men, all of which we heard being rehearsed by Thai. In the first place, I am desirous of hearing the history of the race of Vrigu. Recount thou that history, we shall attentively listen. Sauti answered, By me has been acquired all that was formerly studied by the high-souled Brahmanas, including Vaisampayana, and repeated by them. By me has been acquired all that has been studied by my father, O descendant of the Brigu race. Attend then to so much as relateth to the exalted race of Brigu, revered by Indra and all the gods, by the tribes of Rishis and Maruts. Apparently that's winds. O great Muni, I shall first properly recount the story of this family as told in the Puranas. The great and blessed saint Brigu, we are informed, was produced by the self-existing Brahma from the fire at the sacrifice of Varuna. Self-existing Brahma, what the heck is that? And Brigu had a son named Chayavana, whom he dearly loved. And to Chayavana was born a virtuous son called Pramati. And Pramati had a son named Ruru by Gritachi, the celestial dancer. Yeah, so there's not only celestial weapons, there's also celestial dancers, whatever the heck that is. And to Ruru, also his wife, Pramadvara, was born a son, whose name was Sunaka. He was, O Saunaka, the great ancestor, exceedingly virtuous in his ways. He was devoted to asceticism, of great reputation, proficient in law. Proficient in law. What law? You know, what are they talking about here? Who made these laws that are mentioned here? And eminent among those having a knowledge of the Vedas. He was virtuous, truthful, and of well-regulated fare. Saunaka said, O son of Sutta, I ask thee why the illustrious son of Brigu was named Chayavana. Do tell me all. Yeah, that really bugs me. Proficient in law. What are they talking about? Do they mean like law of gravity or what? Do they mean man-written law? Like Hammurabi. Sauti replied, Brigu had a wife named Puloma, whom he dearly loved. She became big with child by Brigu, and one day, while the virtuous continent Puloma was in that condition, Brigu, great among those that are true to their religion, leaving her at home, went out to perform his ablutions. It was then that the Rakshasa called Puloma came to Brigu's abode, and entering the Rishi's abode, the Rakshasa saw the wife of Brigu, irreproachable in everything, and seeing her, he became filled with lust and lost his senses. The beautiful Puloma entertained the Rakshasa thus arrived, with roots and fruits of the forest. And the Rakshasa, who burned with desire upon seeing her, became very much delighted and resolved, O great sage, to carry her away, who was so blameless in every respect. My design is accomplished, said the Rakshasa, and so seizing that beautiful matron he carried her away. And indeed she of agreeable smiles had been betrothed by her father himself to him, although the former subsequently bestowed her, according to due rites, on Brigu. This doesn't make any sense. Not to me anyway. O thou of the Brigu race, this wound rankled deep in the Rakshasa's mind, and he thought the present moment was opportune for carrying the lady away. And the Rakshasa saw the apartment in which the sacrificial fire was kept burning brightly. The Rakshasa then asked the flaming element, Tell me, O Agni, whose wife this woman rightfully is. Thou art the mouth of gods, therefore thou art bound to answer my question. This lady of superior complexion had been first accepted by me as wife, but her father subsequently bestowed her upon the false Brigu. Tell me truly if this fair one can be regarded as the wife of Brigu, for having found her alone, I have resolved to take her away by force from the hermitage. My heart burns with rage when I reflect that Brigu has got possession of this woman of slender waist, first betrothed to me. Sauti continued. In this manner the Rakshasa asked the flaming god of fire again and again whether the lady was Brigu's wife, and the god was afraid to return an answer. Thou, O god of fire, said he, residest constantly within every creature, as witness of her or his merits and demerits. Alright, when it says, O God of fire, you are constantly within every creature, what they probably are pointing to is the fact that every creature eats and burns the food. Yeah. In Dutch we say verteren. Would that be consume? See, every creature consumes food. You do that with fire. O thou respected one, then answer my question truly. He has not Brigu appropriated her who was chosen by me as my wife. Excuse me. Thou shouldst declare truly whether therefore she is my wife by first choice. After thy answer as to whether she is the wife of Brigu, I will bear her away from this hermitage even in sight of thee. Therefore answer thou truly. Sauti continued. The seven-flamed god, having heard these words of the Rakshasa, became exceedingly distressed, being afraid of telling a falsehood and equally afraid of Brigu's curse. And the god at length made answer in words that came out slowly. This Paloma was indeed first chosen by thee, O Rakshasa, but she was not taken by thee with holy rites and invocations. But this far-famed lady was bestowed by her father on Brigu as a gift from desire of blessing. She was not bestowed on thee, O Rakshasa. This lady was duly made by the Rishi Brigu, his wife, with Vedic rites in my presence. This is she, I know her, I dare not speak a falsehood. O thou best of the Rakshasas, falsehood is never respected in this world. Next section. Continued, Paloma Parva. Sauti said, O Brahmana, having heard these words from the god of fire, the Rakshasa assumed the form of a boar, and seizing the lady carried her away with the speed of the wind, even of thought. Then the child of Brigu, lying in her body, enraged at such violence, dropped from his mother's womb, from which he obtained the name Shiyavana. And the Rakshasa, perceiving the infant drop from his mother's womb, shining like the sun, quitted his grasp of the woman, fell down and was instantly converted into ashes. And the beautiful Paloma, distracted with grief, O Brahmana of the Brigu race, took up her offspring Chayavana, the son of Brigu, and walked away. And Brahma, the grandfather of all, Brahma, the first creature in the universe, dare I say that, the first born in the universe, right? Because Brahma is born from the lotus that springs from the belly of some Vishnu, which is lying at the bottom of the universe, which is half filled with water. Alright, so we don't consider the sleeping Vishnu in this universe as a creature born, because he always existed. But Brahma is manifested and unmanifested, kalpa after kalpa, right? Time period after time period. It's cyclic. Alright, so, and Brahma, the grandfather of all, in other words, we are all descendants of Brahma, himself saw her, the faultless wife of his sons, weeping, and the grandfather of all comforted her who was attached to her son. And the drops of tears which rolled down her eyes formed a great river, and that river began to follow the footsteps of the wife and the great ascetic Bhrigu. And the grandfather of the world, seeing that the river followed the path of his son's wife, gave it a name himself and called it Vadusara, and it passes by the hermitage of Chaivana. And in this manner was born Chaivana of great ascetic power, the son of Bhrigu. And Bhrigu saw his child Chaivana and its beautiful mother, and the rishi in a rage asked her, by whom wast thou made known to that Rakshasa who resolved to carry thee away? O thou of agreeable smiles, the Rakshasa could not know thee as my wife, while, that should probably be wife, therefore tell me who it was that told the Rakshasa so, in order that I may curse him through anger. And Paulama replied, O possessor of 6 attributes, I was identified to the Rakshasa by Agni, and he, the Rakshasa, bore me away, who cried like the Kurauri. And it was only by the ardent splendor of this thy son that I was rescued, for the Rakshasa, seeing this infant, let me go, and himself falling to the ground was turned into ashes. Sauti continued, Brigi, upon hearing this account from Pauloma, became exceedingly enraged, and in excess of passion the rishi cursed Agni, saying, Thou shalt eat of all things. Right? It's like fire consuming food, right? Any food. So ends the 6th section called the curse on Agni. In the Adi Parva, next section. Paloma Parva continued. Sauti said, the god of fire, enraged at the curse of Bhrigu, thus addressed the rishi, What meaneth this rashness, O Brahmana, that thou hast displayed towards me? What transgression can be imputed to me who was laboring to do justice and speak the truth impartially? Being asked, I gave the true answer. A witness who, when interrogated about a fact of which he has knowledge, represented otherwise than it is, ruineth his ancestors and descendants both to the 7th generation. Now that's odd. 7th generation. He too, who, being fully cognizant of all particulars of an affair, does not disclose what he knows when asked, is undoubtedly stained with guilt. I can also curse thee, but Brahmanas are held by me in high respect. Although these are known to thee, O Brahmana, I will yet speak of them. So please attend. Having, by ascetic power, multiplied myself, I am present in various forms, in places of the daily Homa, whatever that is, at sacrifices extending for years, in places where holy rites are performed, and at other sacrifices. With the butter that is poured upon my flame according to the injunctions prescribed in the Vedas, the Devas and Pitris are appeased. The Devas are the waters, the Pitris are also the waters. The Devas have with the Pitris an equal right to the sacrifices called Darshas and Purnamasas. The Devas, therefore, are the Pitris and the Pitris the Devas. Well, what the heck is that supposed to mean? They are identical beings, worshipped together and also separately at the changes of the moon. Huh. The moon. And the water. What's going on here? The Devas and the Pitris eat what is poured upon me. I am therefore called the mouth of the Devas and the Pitris. At the new moon the Pitris and at the full moon the Devas are fed through my mouth, eating of the clarified butter that is poured in on me. That's fire, right? Being as I am their mouth, how am I to be an eater of all things? Then Agni, after reflecting for a while, withdrew himself from all places, from places of the daily Homa of the Brahmanas, from all long existing sacrifices, from places of holy rites and from other ceremonies, without their owns and vashyats, and deprived of their shwadas and swahas. The whole body of creatures became much distressed at the loss of their sacrificial fire. The rishis, in great anxiety, went to the gods and addressed them thus: Ye immaculate beings, the three regions of the universe are confounded at the cessation of their sacrifices and ceremonies in consequences of the loss of fire. Three regions of the universe? What the heck is that? Ordain what is to be done in this matter, so that there may be no loss of time. It sounds like three worlds, right? Three regions of the universe? No clue. Then the rishis and the gods went together to the presence of Brahma. Right? That's where, the gods go. If things get out of hand, they all go to Brahma. They say, "Whoa, help!" And they represented to him all about the curse on Agni and the consequent interruptions of all ceremonies. And they said, "O thou greatly fortunate, once Agni has been cursed by Brigu for some reason. Indeed, being the mouth of the gods and also the first who eateth of what is offered in sacrifices, the eater also of the sacrificial butter, how will Agni be reduced to the condition of one who eats of all things promiscuously? And the creator of the universe, he's not the creator of the universe. That's done by the unborn one. Brahma is just a half-god, a demigod, who is supposed to make sure that everything that happens in the universe goes according to plan, or according to plan, actually. This is just me talking here, right? But as far as I can see, when I look out into the world, the universe, what I see is that the whole purpose of this universe is to serve living beings. Right? So if something in the universe is not serving living beings, Brahma is supposed to come and set it straight. I mean, that's the whole reason for the universe coming to existence in the first place. It's to serve other living entities, to create bodies, to evolve bodies in which living entities can enter and do their thing. And the creator of the universe, hearing these words of theirs, summoned Agni to his presence. And Brahma addressed Agni, the creator of all and eternal as himself, in the gentle words. Yeah. Now they're saying that Brahma is eternal. Well, yeah. Even though he is born in this universe as the first entity, the first living being, he dies at a certain point. He has a lifespan, right? It is said in their mythology that when Brahma dies, Shiva comes into action and destroys the whole universe, right? They speak of manifested universes and unmanifested universes. So it's a cycle. There's a period of unmanifesting when Brahma has died. And then a time period passes which is as large as Brahma's life. And then the whole thing starts over again. Giving living creatures a chance to pick up where they left off, you see. Thou art the creator of the worlds, and thou art their destroyer. Thou preserves the three worlds, and thou art the promoter of all sacrifices and ceremonies. Therefore, behave thyself so that the ceremonies be not interrupted. And, O thou eater of sacrificial butter, why dost thou act so foolishly, being as thou art the Lord of all? Thou alone art always pure in the universe, and thou art its stay. Alright, so fire purifies things. Right? You can burn microbes and bacteria from things that you may need to use on your body. Right? You use fire to purify, you see? That's why fire is called pure. Thou shalt not, with all thy body, be reduced to the state of one who eats of all things promiscuously. Right? And the fire itself does not become non-pure by purifying other things. See? O thou of flames, the flame that is in thy viler parts, viler parts, I don't know how to read that, shall alone eat of all things alike. The body of thine which eateth of flesh, being in the stomach of all carnivorous animals, shall also eat of all things promiscuously. Right? In your stomach there is also a burning process going on. You burn the food in your stomach. Or another word for that is consume. See, fire consumes. And as everything touched by the sun's rays becomes pure, right? That's also a thing that has been studied. Is that if you have a wound on your arm, for instance, and you put your arm in the sun, it helps purify your wound. The sun's rays kill the bacteria. And as everything touched by the sun's rays becomes pure, so shall everything be pure that shall be burnt by thy flames. Thou art, O fire, the supreme energy born of thy own power. Then, O Lord, by that power of thine, make the Rishi's curse come true. Continue to receive thy own portion, and that of the gods offered at thy mouth. So it continued. Then Agni replied to the grandfather, that's Brahma, so be it. And he then went away to obey the command of Brahma. The gods and the rishis also returned in delight to the place whence they had come. And the rishis began to perform as before their ceremonies and sacrifices. And the gods in heaven and all creatures of the world rejoiced exceedingly. And Agni too rejoiced in that he was free from the prospect of sin. Thus, O processor of the 6 attributes, had Agni been cursed in the days of yore by Brigu, and such is the ancient history connected with the destruction of the Rakshasa, Paloma, and the birth of Chaivana. And thus ends the 7th section. Alright, next section is 8, more Paloma Parva. So he said, O Brahmana, Chaivana, the son of Brigu, begot a son in the womb of his wife Sukanya, and that son was the illustrious Pramati of resplendent energy. And Pramati begot in the womb of Gritachi a son called Ruru, and Ruru begot on his wife Pramadvara a son called Sunaka. And this reminds me also of the Bible, where you also have these whole lists of son of this and son of that and father of this and so on. Why are they so concerned about that? These bloodlines. Sounds like Darwinism, eugenics. And I shall relate to you in detail, O Brahmana, the entire history of Ruru and of abundant energy. Oh, listen to it then in full. Fortunately, there was a great rishi called Stulakesa, possessed of ascetic power and learning and kindly disposed towards all creatures. At that time, O Brahmana sage, Vishvavasu, the king of the Gandharvas, it is said, had intimacy with Menaka, the celestial dancing girl, and the Apsara, Menaka, O thou of Brigu race, when her time was come, brought forth an infant near the hermitage of Stulakesa. And dropping the newborn infant on the banks of the river, O Brahmana, Menaka, the Apsara, being destitute of pity and shame, went away. And the Rishi, Stulakesa, of great ascetic power, discovered the infant lying forsaken in a lonely part of the riverside. And he perceived that it was a female child, bright as the offspring of an immortal, and blazing, as it were, with beauty. And the great Brahmana Stulakesa, the first of Munis, seeing that female child and filled with compassion, took it up and reared it, and the lovely child grew up in his holy habitation. The noble-minded and blessed Rishi Stulakesa, performing in due succession all the ceremonies, beginning with that at birth, as obtained by the divine law, as ordained by the divine law. What? divine law. You know, again, this law thing is bugging me. It really is. I'm telling you, there's no such thing as divine law. Alright, there's probably talk of that in the Bible too. God's law. Right? Now why would there be such a thing as God's law? God does not need any laws. God does not need anything. So why would there be laws? It doesn't make any sense at all. If God wants something to happen, it's happening. If God does not want something to happen, it will not ever happen. That's the power of God. You know, I'm not saying that God exists, but you know, you have to be able to look at things, entertain the idea without accepting it, alright? So if there is such a thing as God, there is no need for any laws. You know, if there were such a thing as God's laws, you would be able to break them. That doesn't make any sense either. Because God's laws cannot be broken. That's how powerful they are, if they existed. But if they cannot be broken, then there would be no need for those laws. Because you can't break them anyway. Do you get that? Do you see why there is no sense in the existence of God's laws? If God would not want you to do certain things, He would have made it impossible for you to do these things. That's how powerful He is, if He exists. So there is no need for God's laws, because you wouldn't be able to do that which is forbidden in the first place. And because He surpassed all of her sex in goodness, beauty, and ever equality, the great Rishi called her by the name of Pramadvara. And the pious Ruru, having seen Pramadvara in the hermitage of Stulakesa, became one whose heart was pierced by the god of love. And Ruru, by means of his companions, made his father Pramati, the son of Brigu, acquainted with his passion. And Pramati demanded her of the far-famed Stulakesa for his son. And her foster father betrothed the virgin Pramadvara to Ruru, fixing the nuptials for the day when the star Varga Daivata would be ascendant. Then, within a few days of the time fixed for the nuptials, the beautiful virgin, while at play with companions of her own sex, her time having come, impelled by fate, trod upon a serpent, which she did not perceive as it lay in coil. And the reptile, urged to execute the will of fate, violently darted its envenomed fangs into the body of the heedless maiden. And stung by that serpent, she instantly dropped senseless on the floor, on the ground. Her color faded, and all the graces of her persons went off. all the graces of her person went off. And with disheveled hair, she became a spectacle of woe to her companions and friends. And she, who was agreeable to behold, became on her death what was too painful to look at. And the girl of slender waist, lying on the ground like one asleep, being overcome with the poison of the snake, once more became more beautiful than in life. And her foster father and the other holy ascetics who were there all saw her lying motionless upon the ground with the splendor of a lotus. And then there came many noted brahmanas filled with compassion, and they sat around her. And Swastya Treya, Mahayana, Kushlika, Sankhamekala, Udalaka, Kata, and Shveta of great renown, Bharadvaya, Kaunakkuchya, Artistena, Gautama, Pramati, and Pramati's sons Ruru, and other inhabitants of the forest came there. And when they saw that maiden lying dead on the ground, overcome with the poison of the reptile that had bitten her, they all wept, filled with compassion. But Ruru, mortified beyond measure, retired from the scene. That's section 8. Moving on to section 9. More Paulama Parva. Sauti said, while those illustrious Brahmanas were sitting around the dead body of Pramadvara, Ruru, sorely afflicted, retired into a deep wood and wept aloud. And overwhelmed with grief, he indulged in much piteous lamentations. And, remembering his beloved Pramadvara, he gave vent to his sorrow in the following words. Alas, the delicate fair one that increased my affliction lieth upon the bare ground. What can be more deplorable to us, her friends? If I have been charitable, I have performed acts. If I have performed acts of penance, if I have ever revered my superiors, let the merit of these arts restore to life my beloved one. If from my birth I have been controlling my passions, adhere to my vows, let the fair Pramadarva rise from the ground. Well, that's a pretty egoistic thing to be asking for, right? You know, this comes across like it's not that he's in emotional stress because the girl was bitten and had to die. No, it's he misses her. It's his problem. You see? That doesn't sound very enlightened, does it? Doesn't sound very renunciated, does it? And these are supposed to be the saintly ones? And while Ruru was indulging in these lamentations for the loss of his bride, a messenger from heaven came to him in the forest and addressed him. The words thou utterest, O Ruru, in thy affliction are certainly ineffectual. For, O pious man, here, he's supposed to be pious, right? One belonging to this world, whose days have run out, can never come back to life. This poor child of a Gandharva and Apsara has had her days run out. Therefore, O child, thou should not consign thy heart to sorrow. The great gods, however, have provided beforehand a means of her restoration to life, and if thou compliest with it, thou mayest receive back thy Pramadvara. And Ruru replied, O messenger of heaven, what is it that which the gods have ordained? Tell me in full, so that on hearing I may comply with it. It behoveth thee to deliver me from grief. And the celestial messenger said unto Ruru, Resign half of thy own life to thy bride, and then, O Ruru, of the race of Brigu, thy Pramadvara shall rise from the ground. O best of celestial messengers, I most willingly offer a moiety of my own life in favor of my bride. Then let my beloved one rise up once more in her dress and lovable form. Sauti said, Then the king of Gandharvas, the father of Pramadvara, and the celestial messenger, both of excellent qualities, went to the god Dharma, the judge of the dead, and addressed him, saying, If it be thy will, O the Dharma Raja, let the amiable Pramadvara, the betrothed wife of Ruru, now lying dead, rise up with a moiety, that's M-O-I-E-T-Y, I don't know how to pronounce that, with a moiety of Ruru's life. And Dharma Raja answered, O messenger of the gods, if it be thy wish, let Pramadvara, the betrothed wife of Ruru, rise up and endued with the moiety of Ruru's life. Sauti continued, and when Dharma Raja had said so, that maiden of superior complexion, Pramadvara, endued with the moiety of Ruru's life, rose as from her slumber. This bestowal by Ruru of a moiety of his own span of life to resuscitate his bride afterwards led, as it would be seen, to a curtailment of Ruru's life. And on an auspicious day their father gladly married them with due rites, and the couple passed their days devoted to each other. And Ruru, having obtained such a wife as is hard to be found, beautiful and bright as the filaments of the lotus, made a vow for the destruction of the serpent race. And whenever he saw a serpent, he became filled with great wrath and killed it with a weapon. One day, O Brahmana, Ruru entered an extensive forest, and there he saw an old serpent of the Dun Buddha species lying stretched on the ground. And Ruru thereupon lifted up in anger his staff, even like the staff of death, for the purpose of killing it. Then the Dun Buddha, addressing Ruru, said, I have done thee no harm, O Brahmana. Then wherefore wilt thou slay me in anger? And that's the end of that section. So we're gonna continue with section 10 next week. It's almost the end. So thanks all. Thanks Dan. Thanks Dal, JJ, Joe, Lady Pitbull, Cap, and on. Take care everybody. Thanks for listening. See you guys next week. Bye bye.
An inside job? How dare you? How dare you?
To create, so to say, mass-produced models of human beings arranged in some kind of a scientific